So let's look at the solutions on how to answer these questions related to section 4.5. Question 1 here, between 0 and 2 pi, where is the sine of the angle less than 0, and where is the tangent of the angle greater than 0? So what that means, if the sine of the angle is less than 0, I want to know where it's negative, and when tangent's greater than 0, I want to know where it's positive. So I'm going to go on the circle, go from 0 to 2 pi. If I start here and rotate from 0 to 2 pi, let's first find where all the sines are less than 0. Sines are the y values, so I don't see any negative y's until I hit quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. So I know my answer is going to be somewhere in quadrant 3 or 4, just because of the sine requirement. Now, let's look at the tangent requirement. The tangent requirement wants the tangent to be positive. That means the slope is positive. If you take a look and compute the tangents, in quadrant 3, tangent is sine over cosine. Any sine value over any cosine value would be a negative over a negative, which would be positive in quadrant 3. In quadrant 4, any tangent would be, again, the sine over cosine. So a negative sine divided by a positive cosine would be a negative tangent. So in quadrant 3, we're going to have ourselves some positive tangents here. In quadrant 4, they're negative. By the way, you can see the positive tangents in the upward sloping line of the angle movement. So between 0 and 2 pi, where does it happen? It happens between pi and 3 pi over 2. So I would say between pi is the theta and between 3 pi over 2, which is how we say quadrant 3 in interval notation. Let's look at the next ones. Find all the values between negative 2 pi and 2 pi such that these different requirements are met. 3 different questions. The first one here, if we go from negative 2 pi to 2 pi, means go from 0 to 2 pi forward and 0 to 2 pi backwards. So if I do this one, I'm first going to look at the sine of the angle. So sine just means the y values. So where are the y values? Negative square root of 2 over 2. So if I go through the circle and I go from 0 to 2 pi forward, I'm looking for sines or negative square root of 2 over 2. Again, as I rotate through, those aren't going to happen and become negative until quadrant 3 or 4. And I see the first one happening here at 5 pi over 4, or 5/4 of a pi. And then I see the second one happening here at 7 pi over 4. Now, maybe they want to be in degree mode, that's fine. I would just say at 225 degrees or 315 degrees. Now, if you go backwards, that's the negative 2 pi. Just imagine the rotation going this way. We have to state the same locations. I know the answers are still going to exist here and here, but be careful when you go backwards and when we land at this first rotation. This first rotation happens right here. Now, this is not called 7 pi over 4. When you go backwards on that one, we are actually going backwards a negative 1/4 of a pi. So at negative pi over 4 or negative 45 degrees. As we continue on, the next one's going to happen right here. This here is, again, is not at 5 pi over 4. It's not negative 5 pi over 4. This is actually at negative 3/4 of a pi, which is equivalent to the same as saying negative 135 degrees. Now, letter B. Let's go to this one. This question wants to know where is the cosine equal to 1/2. So again, cosine means I'm looking at the x's. Doing the same type of rotation, let's look and see where the cosine values are a positive 1/2. As I go through forward and I look from between 0 and 2 pi, the cosines are a positive 1/2. Right here is my first movement. Then as I continue on, it's not going to happen again until I hit right here. So as we're going in if we're in radian mode on this one, I'm going to write my answer up here. I would say it's going to happen at pi over 3 or 30 or 60 degrees, and then it's going to happen at 5 pi over 3 or 300 degrees. As you go backwards, again, be careful Going backwards, we're going to land right here. Again, we're going backwards a third of a pi, so it'd be negative pi over 3, or in this case, we would say negative 60 degrees. Continuing to see where we land next, we're going to have to go all the way around over to here, which we have to go a full 1 piece of pi and another 2/3 of a pi. So that is going to be at negative 5 pi over 3, or at negative 300 degrees. The last one here wants to know where our tangent is equal to 1. So tangent, remember, is going to be our slope. So that is where y over x equals 1, or our sine over our cosine. So as I travel around the circle, again going from 0 to 2 pi, I'm going to see where all the computations happen. That tangent is going to be the number 1. If you take sine over cosine, and as we rotate around, the first time it's going to happen is right here. Square root of 2 over 2 divided by square root of 2 over 2 is the first. As we continue on, the next movement is not going to happen again until we hit here, which is negative square root of 2 over negative square root of 2 over 2. So in radian mode from 0 to 2 pi, where we see that these tangents are equaling 1 are at pi over 4 and at 5 pi over 4. Now, as we move backwards from 0 to 2 pi, how do we say that we actually land at this location and this location again? Again, be careful. This is going to be going backwards negative 3/4 of a pi. So this is negative 3/4 of a pi, or negative 3 pi over 4. Continuing on, how are we going to go all the way backwards? 1 piece of pi. Then we're going to go another 3/4 of a pi. That is going to get me at negative 7/4 of a pi as my actual location. Or we could also say those in the degree modes. So if we were to state these answers as degrees, be careful. We have 45 degrees, 225 degrees. Then we would have negative 135 degrees, and then negative 215 degrees would be the answer if we were in degree mode and not in radians.